so on. Okay, now there was a question that came up.
Yes. I have a question.
Yeah.
I've got a patient who consistently is late to come. She comes half an hour late to our meetings. And half an hour, she misses half the meeting. And every time she gets another excuse for her being late. We try to talk about it, and she says there is a part in her that tells her not to come because maybe she's going to make mistakes and maybe she's going to hurt herself. But usually she doesn't know why. She said, I don't know, too many things came up lately and suddenly I missed the bus and I don't know what happens. But she consistently is late. She's consistently late.
Good, exactly. And when a patient misses the session, where is that on the triangle of conflict?
The session makes her anxious.
Yeah. So when she misses,
it's a defense.
Excellent, excellent. Any maladaptive behavior is a defense. So that can be your, if you're not sure, any maladaptive behavior is a defense. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So feelings get stirred up by depending on you, becoming more intimate with you. That makes her anxious. And she deals with her anxiety by missing the session. So I would say, right. So notice that it's as if you're allowed to come to therapy as long as you deprive yourself of 50% of it. Now, is this pattern of self-deprivation, is this a pattern in your life that you deprive yourself and actually withhold from yourself the good things that you want?
Actually, yes, because she's 32 years old. She didn't get married. And she says that she always somehow gets to block her connections with men.
Right. And we see how you block the connection here with me, that it's as if you have the right to come to therapy as long as you ensure that you don't benefit from it. So we're seeing a pattern of self-sabotage. And you're letting me know it's nothing personal to me or the therapy. This is the pattern of self-destruction that's going throughout your life. And notice right now when I point out the self-destructiveness by which, you're tempted to sabotage your own therapy. Notice how you're tempted to justify and provide reasons to continue your self-deprivation. Because she'll be tempted to offer all the reasons. Right, and that would be another, and she says, well, because I don't deserve, I don't know, yes. And notice these are ways you try to justify your continued self-deprivation.
Wow.
So, keep in mind, I can't stop you from engaging in this self-destructiveness. You've been doing this for 33 years. And no one has been able to stop you. But as long as you continue to deprive yourself of anything good, yes, your suffering would continue. Yeah. And you would die a lonely, isolated woman. Yeah. So the question I have is, what is the crime you've committed that makes you so devoted to this life of self-deprivation and self-sabotage? Another angle. And notice then, you ask me to collaborate in your self-destruction. You ask me to passively witness you destroying yourself. You ask me to take money from you so I can give you nothing. And then I would be just another ineffective person in your life, taking money from you, exploiting you, taking money, and then inviting me to kind of watch your suffering, watch your self-sabotage, and to collude with your self-sabotage. And so I have to kind of wonder, why are you working so hard to get me to be another person who's just exploiting you and colluding with your self-sabotage? Haven't you suffered enough? What are your responses to that, Chaya?
Wow, that's enlightening, indeed.
You know, I mean, because right, when she comes only 50% of the time, not only is she sabotaging herself, she's asking you, collude with my self-destructiveness.
Why does she need my collusion? Why does she need me to cooperate with her sabotaging her life?
Whose job is it to figure that out?
What?
Whose job is it to figure out the answer to those questions?
Hers.
Excellent. This is a rise of intense wisdom. Then you can ask, so I have to wonder, why are you inviting me? Yeah, to exploit you this way. Because this is what you do. You invite all kinds of people to exploit you and use you, right? So I have to wonder, why are you doing that here?
I'm sure she wouldn't know what to answer.
No. But you want to leave her with that question. I don't expect her to have the answer, but you want to leave her with the right question, because that's the question she needs to answer. It's not your question to answer. It's your question to ask. So she starts asking herself the right question. Why am I inviting Chaya to collude with my self-destructiveness? Why do I set up Chaya? Yeah, to be another useless person in my life.
Because
why do I set up a Chaya to be in a situation where Chaya actually can't help me? She can only watch me engage in self-sabotage.
Maybe she needs the confirmation that she's really not entitled to life.
Hang on. You're speculating. You're
yes,
speculating.
my speculation.
You just hang on.
It's my.
Hang on.
I don't say to her.
Hang on. Speculation is very hard work, my dear. Not your job to speculate. See, if you speculate, you're thinking, oh, if I could figure this out for her, if only I could figure this out for her. But this is her question, right? This is her question. See, in a way, you have to help her have her questions so she can become the answer. We're tempted to speculate, right? Which is just a fancy word for therapist projection. I wouldn't, it's not your job to figure it out, but it is your job to point out what she's doing and how destructive it is. And how, in a way, it's perfect because she's simply setting herself up in therapy the way she does with everyone else. She's inviting you to be another person who exploits her, takes her money, and unable to give her anything. And she asks you to be kind of a helpless figure who can only watch her self-destructiveness, who's unable to do anything about it. And you're just curious, I wonder why you're doing that to yourself. Why do you sabotage yourself that way? See, these are her questions to answer. They're not yours. You don't have to answer them. See, we think, oh, I have to answer her questions. You can't. That's a kind of therapeutic bypassing. These are her questions. These are hers to struggle with. See, if you leave her with the right question, she's struggling with it all week long. And then the right person is struggling with the right question.
Yeah.
How does that change your understanding of her missing the session?
Wow, that's a lot. It also relieves me to because I felt like really that I'm exploiting her, that I get twice the money for a useless meeting.
Yeah. Because then, you know, if you're not here half the session, actually, you're paying me for nothing. And you're inviting me to be another exploitive person in your life. And you're asking me to collude with your self-deprivation and act like that's okay. Yeah.
So this explains also why she's a divorcee for 9 years, doesn't find another husband, And in her marriage was so desperate and so lonely and was exploited by her husband.
Well, wait a second. Wait a second. She's been married this whole time.
Mm.
But what has she been married to?
What?
She's been married for the last 9 years. What has she been married to?
A fantasy?
Self-deprivation, self-punishment. So she'd say, no, I've been divorced. I say, no, you divorced your husband, but you didn't divorce your self-deprivation and self-destructiveness. The final divorce actually hasn't happened yet. Yes, you're married to self-destruction and self-deprivation. And you're showing me right here, every time you come late, you show me that for 50% of our session, you're married to self-deprivation and self-destruction. Yeah. Just because you left your husband doesn't mean you completed the divorce from self-destruction and self-deprivation. The question here is whether you would like to finalize the divorce. So you're no longer married to self-destruction and self-deprivation. You're letting me know there was no room for a man in your life. There was no room for pleasure. Not when you were so married to self-deprivation and self-punishment. Yeah. That's why we have to find out, yeah, what can we do about this very self-destructive form of self-deprivation going on here between you and me? Yeah, what can we do about that, do you think? How does that change your understanding, Chaya?
I think it's great. And I haven't thought about it this way. And maybe it can change something, but it also makes me very pessimistic that if she keeps if she's almost 33 years old and still holds the same pattern of self-destruction.
Pause. Who should feel pessimistic?
She.
Yeah. Is this part of your fee that you agree to be depressed and helpless? And is that part of your fee?
No,
right.
It's not
so
mine.
Then you can say, now, you can continue, right, to deprive yourself. I can't stop you. You can continue to be self-destructive. You've been doing a really good job of it now for 9 years, and you could do it the rest of your life. Yeah. But then what will the result be for you? So you say that therapy is hopeless for me? I says, no, I think therapy could be very helpful for you, but self-sabotage is definitely a very hopeless strategy. And you know that because that's the evidence before you.
Yeah.
Right, because then who starts to see that her strategy is hopeless?
She should.
Exactly. See, we have to make sure that insights are happening in the right person.
Yeah. Okay.
You see, if her problem is more of a problem for you than for her, therapy's stuck. We have to help her see that it's no longer a problem for you. Right. You actually can deprive yourself. You can be destructive. Yeah, you could keep coming here for half the session, and then you could be here for 30 years. And yeah, your suffering would continue. But then you also have to be aware that if, eventually if it turns out that it's your choice to continue your self-destructiveness and self-harm here in therapy, we would have to part ways because I can't, collude with your destructiveness. That's a path you would have to take alone. That's not one I can take with you.
Wow.
Because otherwise I'd just be colluding with your destructiveness and taking your money for nothing. And then I would just become another criminal in your life.
Wow.
Well, what's coming together for you here?
A lot. Also the fact that I'm taking too much responsibility in places I shouldn't.
There's only one person could take responsibility for her self-deprivation.
Right.
as far as I know, you're not able to call the police and bring her to therapy on time.
Yeah.
Right? Unless there's kind of laws there that I don't know about, but yeah. So you actually have no responsibility. There's really nothing you can do about whether she comes on time. You can just talk about, yeah, what she's doing and the price she pays. Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Oh, well, thank you. Maybe you'll even present this case to us later on.
She doesn't know English, but God willing, I'll present another case.
Okay, terrific. All right, well, I see we're at the end of our time for today. Thanks again to Yuval for coordinating this. Thank you, Sudhir, for this lovely case.
Thank you.
Thanks
Thank
to
you
all of you for your lovely questions.
Thank you, John.
And I look forward to seeing all of you at our next supervision. Take care,
Thank
everyone.
you. Bye-bye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, John.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.